I understand that the first item on the agenda at 670 Glenmore Boulevard, which is a variance case continued from February 24th, is asking for another continuance, and I will ask staff to. Oh, you're... Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. The applicant is requesting a continuance to this item to April 7, 2010. There's an arborist report needed for the project, and they need time to complete the analysis of the project. So
Okay.
we'd like to continue that to April 7th with no further notice.
No further public notice. Okay. This item is being continued to April 7th, 2010 with no further public notice.
Very good. Thanks.
The second item on the agenda is a application for a variance request under provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.43 of the Glendale Municipal Code. A variance shall be granted if four required findings are present. Number one, that the strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. Number two, that there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. Number three, that the granting of the variance will not materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And four, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. Findings. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. And now I'll just describe a little about how the hearing will proceed. I'll read the description of the application and the request. I'll read the reports received from other city departments and any other letters of communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case and give analysis and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time frame. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to then come forward and speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. And lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make any closing comments if desired in response to testimony given by the preceding speakers with a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will then be closed and the case taken under submission. After a hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date that appears on the letter. As far as appeals, under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. And again, that's the date appearing on the letter and not necessarily the hearing date. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Section Permit Services Center that's located here on this same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms, which has been provided by the front door and submitted to our planning assistant. I'd also like to note and inform everyone that the official proceedings of this planning hearing officers meeting are recorded on tape as part of the public record. So, now on to the case. The second item on the agenda is a variance case number 2009-040. It is for a property located at 624 Geneva Street. The applicant is Vicky Barbieri for the San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. And the description of the project is an application for a standards variance for common outdoor space, on-grade enclosed parking, and to allow direct backup onto a non-local street in connection with the construction of a new affordable 5-unit, 2-story multifamily building within the R1250 high-density residential zone on a single lot approximately 10,368 square feet in size. A total of 10 parking spaces will be provided in 5 2-car garages with direct access to each unit located at 624 Geneva Street, described as Lot 13 in the southerly 22 feet of Lot 12, track number 5042. Let's see what comments we have from other departments. Okay, we'll start with Public Works. From Environmental Management, there's no comments. Integrated Waste just lists some general code requirements. Because the size of the structure on the new lot will be equal to or greater than 1,000 square feet, the applicant must comply with Municipal Code 8.58, the construction and demolition, waste reduction and recycling plans. And where more information about this code is available on the city's website, or by also making an appointment with Building and Safety. It notes here the submitted map does not appear to show enclosures identified for trash or for recycling. If the new building will be designed for more than 10 people, then both enclosures will be required. Maintenance Services and Urban Forester, there are no comments. And for Traffic and Transportation, there are 2 notes. First note, 14 parking spaces are required by code, 10 parking spaces are proposed, none for visitors. This is a 29% shortfall in code required parking. The potential impacts of this shortfall should be investigated by the applicant and appropriate city departments. And number 2, the alignments of the 2 project driveways with the curb returns is slightly offset. This could promote vehicles driving upon both the public and private landscape areas. Engineering should review these 2 driveway designs for overall acceptability. Now from, I guess it's now Community Redevelopment and Housing, but this covers housing and neighborhood services. There's 2 comments. First, for Neighborhood Services, parking continues to be a challenge in the neighborhood. We understand this is an affordable housing project and is getting a parking reduction under SB 1818. We appreciate the fact that the project will supply 2 parking spaces per unit. And from Housing, Housing supports the variance application to reduce the number of parking spaces. Housing is partnering with the developer, the San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity, to develop this 5-unit first-time homeownership project. This project will be the 7th project, Community Development and Housing and the San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity have partnered together to develop. The project will still provide 2 parking spaces per unit. From Water and Power, from the Water Engineering section, it looks like these comments are just general kind of code requirements. Individual water meters are required for each unit. A backflow prevention device is required for each separate irrigation and fire service. And any water service or fire line connection, when no longer needed, must be abandoned. And, please have the applicant check with the fire department to determine that fire flow is adequate. And speaking of fire prevention, again, just some notes under code requirements. Fire sprinklers are required for the entire structure. Provide access to bedroom rescue windows from walkway. Occupy separation from R3 units to comply with the California Building Code. Opening protection in exterior walls to comply with building code. And tenant egress must be to the city right away. And now actually from it's kind of a little out of order, the electric engineering section. Again, just some general comments. Developer is responsible for paying the full cost of relocating any GWP electric facilities and to coordinate with the engineering section if that's to be the case. The developer is to provide the electric planners with items for new electric service, load calculations, single line diagrams, things of that nature. And an easement permit may be needed, and please contact Glendale Water and Power for more information on that. Parks and Recreation, there are no comments. And finally, Police, there are also no comments. So with those comments read, I'm actually going to turn this over to staff and ask Mr. Eric Kraus to give a brief overview of the project, please.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Asp. The variance, the case before you today is variance case number PVAR 2009-040. It's located at 624 Geneva Street. It's on a single lot that's approximately 10,400 square feet in size. The applicant is Vicki Barbieri, and she's representing the San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. The general plan designation is high-density residential. The zoning designation is R1250 high-density residential. As you mentioned, in June of last year, the Housing Authority approved a exclusive negotiating agreement with the San Gabriel Habitat for Humanity to develop an affordable home ownership project. As a result of this agreement, the applicant is proposing a new 5-unit, 2-story home ownership project in which all 5 units will contain 3 bedrooms. The project does qualify for reduced parking ratios contained in Section 3036 of the zoning code, which is consistent with state density bonus law. It's SB 1818. And under this section of the code and state law, the project applicant is only required to provide 2 spaces per unit. And the city essentially, by state law, is required to grant this. It's not a discretionary action. We have to grant the reduced parking ratios. So as a result, the applicant is proposing a total of 10 parking spaces that will be provided in 5 individual 2-car garages that have direct access to each unit. And also, I'd like to mention that they do meet the minimum code requirements by providing 25% of living space on the ground floor. The project does include 2 driveways located on the southwest corner of the property with direct access, directly adjacent to each other. So the 2 driveways are located next to each other, and there's a landscape median between the 2. One driveway provides access to 4 of the 5 garages, and the other one provides direct access to a single garage. The applicant is requesting 3 variances to construct the project that would allow direct backing into or onto a non-local street. The street is actually designated as an urban collector under the circulation of the general plan. They're also requesting to provide ground level parking and not provide the parking within subterranean or semi-subterranean garages, which required by code. And then also they're proposing to provide 817 square feet of common open space where the code requires 1,000 square feet. The project is exempt from CEQA. It's a 5-unit project, which would be exempt from CEQA. And staff was able to justify all the 4 required findings of fact provided by the applicant and recommends approval of this application. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. So just to be clear, because of the SB 1818 and state requirements for parking, there is no parking exception being requested as part of this.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to have the applicant come up and Vicki Barbieri and give us a little description of what's going on. And
Good morning, I'm
Good
Vicki
morning.
Barbieri. I'm the architect and applicant in this case of the project. And the main overview of the project is the way that we developed the site plan. This is not a big piece of land, and our objective through Habitat for Humanity was to develop 5 units in the project in the 2-story conditions with ground level parking, 2-car garage per each of the units. And the driveway is adjacent to the next property that is another apartment or condominium project. The main orientation of the building is look over the mountains and take advantage of the space, visual space that the freeway allow us for this condominiums. I would like to go in reference just to be sure that we clear that we are not asking any exception in reference to parking, that the reduced parking is allowed by state law, and the city has to accept that condition. And we are only asking for 3 exceptions that I think were already named, but I can go over with that in a second. One of them is to develop the units with, one of the units will have direct access from the street, from the garage, from the parking of this specific unit. All the other units have access through turning areas and driveways that are being provided in the core of the property that are not exposed to the public view. That, I think, comply with the spirit of the code, where subterranean garage in this particular case would be a hardship for the development of just 5 units and for the low-income intent of this project. Still, I think we are maintaining in the exterior of the projects a really nice appearance that really have to do a lot with the neighborhood, and where the garage or garage doors are not exposed to it. In reference to the less square footage in the common area, we are under, I think, 20% of what the code requested, but we are compensating, I think, generously, because we have provided private open space for each of the units that exceed at least 3 times, sometimes 4 times, of what the code requested. I think I have touched on the 3 subjects: reduce common area, no subterranean parking, and the backup to the street to 2 cars in one of the front units.
I guess I have
Yes,
that all?
please.
I have a few questions for you. You did mention that the overall orientation was to take advantage of mountain views.
Yes.
Can you either maybe tell me any other options or designs that you considered to avoid having that one extra driveway back out onto Geneva? Was there any other kind of orientation that was considered, or?
We have studied many site plans and many possibilities. What happened with this particular piece of land, there is a piece of land that the city is preserving for themselves with the intention in the future, I don't know when, to extend a street parallel to the freeway, what now in this moment will be used as a communal garden. And if we locate the driveway over that side of the site, it will be in the future one driveway parallel to another street. And it will make, that wouldn't give us the benefit to access to the 5th unit anyway, we wouldn't have the turning radius. And at the same time, then the units will back up to that view, and it will be fronting to the other building to the other side, where create privacy issues and all, mainly privacy issues. Then we try to do that to accomplish the 5 units. It would be impossible.
And so the same kind of question as to why you didn't design subterranean.
Well, to go subterranean, we would need two things that would be a real hardship that was proven in another project that Habitat for Humanity is doing in the city, to go to semi-subterranean or subterranean garage. First is the enormous cost of it. Second, will disturb completely such an excavation and grading. Definitely will disturb the neighborhood for time. And second one, the length of the lot, it wouldn't allow really to have enough ramps to go access to a subterranean parking.
Okay. My next question related to the common outdoor space. Did you consider altering any of the units or maybe changing their size to try and gain a little more common outdoor space?
Well, we will try that. We try many alternatives. Mainly one of the units using more space because it's a handicap accessible unit. And at the same time, we feel that the use of the private open space seems to be very adequate for the families who really use that more than common open space. And another thing that came in consideration is that we are going to have adjacent to the project the communal garden, what we are sure that the families will be able to keep a plot for themselves.
And I know you mentioned, again, the mountain views and orienting the private and common outdoor space towards the mountains, but it's also oriented towards the freeway. And so did you take any of that into consideration when evaluating the site plan and designing that?
Yes. In reality, we are using materials like to alleviate the issue. We are using double pane windows, and we are using, of course, exterior insulations and materials. And if I recall correctly, it's been a while, I think of the 3 bedrooms of each of those units, unfortunately, only one of the bedrooms are the ones who are able to front that view.
So you're saying all the bedrooms are
Well,
not
some of the
oriented towards
bedrooms, unfortunately, are oriented over the back of the building, and only, I think,
So away from the freeway?
yes,
Okay.
only 3 of the bedrooms are oriented toward the freeway. And there is 1/4 one where we didn't open windows over that side, we opened windows over Geneva.
Okay. And then just, I think, from one of the comments from Traffic and Transportation, there was some concern with the 2 driveways being parallel and perhaps cars driving over that little landscaping strip. Can you tell me about how some design techniques that might prevent
I was
that?
forgetting this point that I read all the requirements for every department. We agree with all of them. I think we can comply with all of them. And I've been working with Mr. Mitchell, Traffic Department, in this project way from the beginning. And we normally follow what Traffic Department feels that is more adequate in all the projects that we have done. Then definitely I'll be working with Mr. Mitchell to his satisfaction in reference to the 2 driveways.
Okay, so I mean, if there was some condition perhaps put on, I don't know if it would be, some taller landscaping or
more separation.
or some sort of curb, some little curb to try and prevent
conflict in between one to the other one. Definitely, we will be able
would be
to
open
comply
to
with that.
something like that? Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't really orient it, one of the driveway close to the freeway, because in the future, when the street is built, that driveway will be left in the corner of the Geneva and the new street. Well, this is the reason why traffic department from the beginning were suggesting that we have the driveways against the right side, let's put it this way, of the property.
Okay.
Preventing some kind of, situation in the future for the new street that is going to be created.
Okay. But just to be clear, between the two driveways, trying to separate that connection as much as possible to prevent
Yeah, we did
anybody
some
driving over that.
Yeah, we did some landscaping already for his suggestion, but maybe he would like to do something else, maybe a curb or maybe
Okay.
something else that he will suggest. Definitely we will follow.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get to, would you be open to that
Oh, yeah,
as an additional
definitely.
condition to address that comment? Okay. Thank you. I think
Thank you
that's
very much.
all the questions I have at the moment. I have 3 more speaker cards, and I will start with, is it Tanya? Please come forward.
Good morning.
State your
Hi,
Name and address.
Tanya McCanyon. I live at 708 Geneva Street. Been there for about 12 years. I'm in opposition to this dwelling. My one concern is what it might do to the property values in the neighborhood. My second and very big concern is the parking on the street. If you have 3 bedrooms, let's just assume that you have 15 drivers total, because that would be 15 people total, and possibly more. With only 10 parking spaces, the rest would be overflow into the street. We already have a great deal of loitering on the street, drug dealing on the street, littering on the street. I know my husband and I take great pride in our neighborhood. We are continually cleaning the bridge and trying to improve our property. So with that amount of units on the street, my concern is visitors, additional parking, additional cars, cluttering the neighborhood, and that's a big concern for me. I personally pick up trash on a bi-weekly basis, if not more, and I'm just really concerned about what it's going to do to the look of the neighborhood. And also, again, to reiterate, the low-income dwelling and what that might do for future property values. That's all I have. Thank you.
next speaker card is Daniel Dessler.
I'm going to reiterate what Tanya said. I live across the street at 709 Geneva, and her and Dave and I are always cleaning the bridge. We've had dumping on the bridge. We've had couches and other kinds of things on the bridge that we always have to call to have pickup. We always have, there's broken glass. We're always picking up. We've picked up condoms. We picked up syringes. There's an elementary school down the block, and little kids are walking up and down that street. I have no problem actually with the apartment. What I have a problem with is the fact that, as Tanya said, there's going to be driving age kids. There's going to be more cars in there. And as of last week's Daily News, there's going to be more people in there than a one-person family, a one family. There's probably going to be, there could be siblings of the adults and their kids because it's low income. And this economy is so bad. So there's going to be even more cars on the streets. I think there really needs to be some more thought about parking or how this is going to happen. One thing I'd like to propose is that we have an 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. sign saying no parking unless with permits. And then we have, if somebody has a party, something, they can get temporary permits that are good till 11 o'clock at night. And that way we can keep it down, and we can keep a lock on who has the permits for the buildings. In other words, the apartments would probably each get 2 permits. Everybody on the block, each house gets 2 permits, and that way it will keep it down. It'll keep the partying down. I think it will help the congestion, and also it'll bring money into the city, because if somebody is sitting there when they're not supposed to be, the police can ticket. Because we've had tractor trailers just parked on the freeway. We've had mobile homes parked on the freeway. They're there for days and days, and the only time they move is during street cleaning from one side to the other, and they just stay there. And this will give the police a way to ticket them. That's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last speaker card, Mike Fortney. And then I'll allow for rebuttal.
Good morning. Planning Hearing Officer. I'm Mike Fortney, the Housing Project Manager for the city. I just wanted to talk about the project a little bit. Some of the things have already been said, but just quickly, the Housing Authority owns the land. We acquired the land a few years back. At the time, there was two older houses, which is kind of pictured there. It's since been demolished. The plans originally were for, I believe, it's 12-unit condominium project. That's when the Housing Authority stepped in and acquired the land. The idea being that at some future time we may extend, I believe it's called Sanchez Road. It's a little street at the first 45 feet from the freeway. So, as Vicki had alluded to, what we've decided to do is enter into the exclusive negotiating agreement with Habitat for Humanity to construct the 5 dwelling units on the south side of the property, but reserve that 45 feet. For now, it looks to be community garden use, but with the idea of sometime in the future that Sanchez Road can be extended through there. So it was also previously mentioned this would be the 7th Habitat for Humanity project with the City of Glendale. The 6th one is currently under construction now. It's the largest one. It's actually almost a stone's throw away from this project. It's on the other side of the freeway and just a little bit to the west on Kenwood Street. That's the only Habitat project that has semi-sub parking. All the rest of the parking is very similar to this. That project and all the 5 previous projects have the same amount of parking, 2 spaces per unit, no guest parking, just as SB 1818 would allow. We haven't really seen any problem with our previous projects with respect to overflow of parking on the street. Other things that I wanted to mention, the semi-sub, of course, that would put a financial burden on the project, but also, if you're familiar with Habitat for Humanity, the projects are built with volunteer labor. And so that would probably require a contractor. In fact, the Kenwood project with the semi-sub, that semi-sub structure was not constructed by volunteers. It's just too much to ask for the volunteer crew to do. So they actually did go out and have to hire a contractor to do that part of the work. So, anything else I need to touch on? So obviously, you got our written comments. Community redevelopment and housing is part of the project. And I think that covers everything I wanted to say, so I appreciate your time.
Okay, and I just have maybe just a few comments or notes that maybe you can elaborate on. I just want to confirm this is an affordable housing project,
Yes.
And it qualifies for, is it low income?
Yeah, and thank you for, I should have mentioned that, of course. It is an affordable housing project.
Okay.
Every project that we are involved in is an affordable housing project. This is a for-sale project, so
Okay.
In order for us to get credit for the money that we're spending in the project, the units have to be restricted for 45 years. For rental projects, it's 55, but for-sale projects is 45 years. So
Okay, so each unit will be individually owned.
yes.
Okay.
And affordable could be very low, or mod. We haven't determined yet exactly what the mix of the 5 will be.
Okay.
It looks like they'll probably all be low income.
And, this does qualify as an affordable housing project, and maybe you can elaborate, does this achieve some of the goals of the City of Glendale and meeting and providing affordable housing in the city?
Yes, we'll probably never meet those goals, but
Okay.
it definitely contributes to those, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. And at this time, I'll ask if the applicant wants to come back up for a rebuttal from any of the previous speakers.
Yes, I just would like to put some tranquility and put to rest in the neighbors who are concerned about these projects. Is the assumption that because it's a low-income project. Families are going to be crowded inside those units. This has not happened in all the projects. I've been involved in all the projects in Habitat and in Glendale. I'm involved in projects of the same organization in Monrovia. And all these projects has been prized for the result of the quality of people who is selected. Not every family is able to be selected. The commission who select the families, maybe there are 1,000 applicants and they go through unbelievable selections. All the families that have been selected are by their merit and a different success in the society. I will invite the neighbors to get the address of the other projects of this organization in this city, the ones who has been finished 10 years ago, the one who is in construction, the one that has been finished 2 years ago. And I will propose to them to drive around and look at the landscaping, looking at the neatness, the cleanness, the maintenance, and they will be, I think, more relaxed to have as neighbors low-income families. The projects are done beautifully. If you don't know that it's low-income intent, you will never think that they are. I don't think that we should do any different in between the income of the people who lives in our cities and make better buildings for the low income so they know low income people. And that is what the organization and we always try to comply with. All our projects are very good projects, and I will invite them to visit them. In reference to excess parking, just because this is a low-income family, normally it's a husband and wife and 2 or 3 kids, they only have 1 car. They are not afford a double car, and in reference there are going to be 15 cars. It has been proved through the times that normally has 1 car per family, and this is it. Then I would like them to invite to go and visit the other projects. I think the main concern with them has to do with another issues that doesn't have to do with this project. And I think this is where they should be referred to. Thank you.
Thank you. You already spoke. You already spoke.
Can I give you this?
Sure. Can we go to the planning assistant? Okay. So based on that, I will take this case under submission and close the public hearing, and we are now officially closed. Thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.